Good evening, everyone, and welcome to 30 minutes of Torah study for the Torah portion of Chayei. The Torah begins with the passing of Sarah, and Abraham recognizes, we got a boy Yitzchak, it's time for him to get married. So Abraham engages his servant Eliezer, and he sends him to find a shidduch, to find a wife for Yitzchak, and he gives him very specific instructions. Eliezer travels to Haran. Haran is a 17-day journey from the land of Israel where Abraham is living, and a miracle takes place. The trip takes only 3 hours. Eliezer takes this as a sign that he is blessed by God, that he will have tremendous success on the trip. He arrives in Haran, he's at a well, shepherds are coming to the well, and he says to God, I need a sign. Please give me a sign. I need a sign that this woman has of the right quality, of the right character for my master's son, Yitzchak. It says, if the woman comes and she offers me water from the well, and she offers to give water to all of my camels, that is the sign that I'm going to know she's kind, she's caring, she's going to be a good fit for the family. Before he even finishes speaking, a young lady approaches him. Can I give water to you? Can I give water to your camels? Again, he says, this is a sign from God. I know this mission is blessed. This is the right woman. He goes with Rivka back to her parents' house. He tells them about Yitzchak. She readily agrees, and she returns with Eliezer back to the land of Israel. And once again, a 17-day journey takes only 3 hours. Again, Eliezer says there are miracles that are happening left and right. This is clearly a sign that she's the right woman. He comes back to Israel and he approaches Yitzchak and he tells Yitzchak of the signs, right? Eliezer tells Yitzchak of the many miracles on his journey to find Rivka. Eliezer is absolutely convinced and he says to Yitzchak, she is the one. You must marry her. Yitzchak says, not so fast. There is one more thing I need to see before I'm willing to marry her. The Parsha says, and Yitzchak brought her into the tent of Sarah, his mother, and he took Rivka, and she became his wife, and he loved her, and he was consoled for the loss of his mother. What happened in this tent? Before Yitzchak would agree to marry her, first he had to bring her into the tent of Sarah, not into his own tent. He brought her into the tent of Sarah. What did he see there? What was that experience all about that made him choose Rivka as a wife? The second question is, it says, and he loved her and was consoled for the loss of his mother. What is the connection to being married, to finding a wife, and being consoled for the loss of a mother? No one can replace a mother, right? As important and as valuable as getting married is, it's a different thing. I remember when I was in yeshiva in Miami, right? My chavrusa, my study partner, did not show up one morning. What happened? His mother passed away. Unfortunately, she was quite sick. She passed away. When he returned to yeshiva, he said that he made a stop in Israel, and he visited a lot of great rabbis in Israel. And they all said to him, you need to get married, right? You get married, and you'll be consoled of the loss of your mother. And he said, I looked at them like they're crazy. Getting married is wonderful. Finding a wife is critical. But what does that have to do with your mother? So these are important questions that we need to answer. The Medrash explains, what was it that took place in the tent that convinced Yitzchak? It says, and he brought her into the tent of Sarah, his mother. All the days of Sarah's life, a cloud hovered over the tent. When she passed away, the cloud disappeared. When Rivka entered the tent, the cloud reappeared. All the days of Sarah's life, the dough had been blessed. When she passed away, this blessing ceased. When Rivka entered the tent, the blessing returned. All the days of Sarah's life, the candle would burn from Friday night to Friday night. When she passed away, the flame stopped burning. When Rivka entered the tent, the miraculous flame returned. When Yitzchak saw that Rivka emulated his mother's actions, immediately he brought her into the tent of Sarah, his mother. So Yitzchak waited for an additional 3 miracles, supposed to be a space in there, before marrying Rivka. When he saw these three miracles take place, he knew and he understood that Rivka embodies everything that his mother embodied, and that she was in fact a true Jewish woman. Rivka brought back these miracles. He said, I am absolutely in. But what is it about these particular miracles that are a major indicator of everything that a Jewish woman is supposed to be? Well, there's 613 mitzvahs in the Torah. Almost all of them apply equally to men and women. Now, that there are a few that specifically apply to men and are impossible to apply to women. There are some that apply to men, but women are also able to do. There are some mitzvahs that apply to women, but men are also able to do. And then there are mitzvahs where the women bear the primary responsibility, the privilege, and the honor to take the lead when it comes to those mitzvahs. The mitzvah of separating challah from dough, the mitzvah of family purity, and the mitzvah of lighting Shabbos candles. All three of these mitzvahs are relevant to men, and they do have a responsibility towards them. But who takes the lead? It is the Jewish woman who takes the lead when it comes to these mitzvahs. And these three mitzvahs parallel the three miracles that took place in the tent of Sarah, and that Rivka returned back to the tent. The Maharal of Prague, Rabbi Yehuda Lowy, he writes, the three miracles parallel the three commandments that are uniquely related to women. The prevalence of blessing in the dough parallels the mitzvah to separate challah from the dough. The candle burning from Friday to Friday parallels the mitzvah to light Shabbos candles. The cloud hovering above the tent parallels family purity, because the cloud of glory is the glory of the blessed divine presence, and all of this was in honor of the sanctity and purity in Sarah's home. So these are three mitzvahs that are critical to creating a holy atmosphere, a spiritual atmosphere, a warm atmosphere in the tent. And in the tent. Sarah was such a woman that there was actually a physical manifestation of the spiritual energy that she created. Right? The dough itself was blessed. It would stay fresh for the week. The candles stayed lit for a week. There was a cloud that hovered over the house. That is how powerful and how concrete she was able to create the spiritual energy in the house. And Jewish women are tasked with this honor and privilege of creating the appropriate atmosphere inside of a Jewish home. So the Jewish woman is charged with the responsibility to counter the spiritual darkness of the world that we live in by filling her home with light. So let's go through all of these three mitzvahs to discover what is it about these three mitzvahs that contribute to the atmosphere, the holiness, the character, and the makeup of the house. So we'll begin with the mitzvah of challah. How does the mitzvah of challah work? If you are making dough, and that dough is a minimum of 59 ounces, there is a biblical commandment to separate a piece of that dough. You make a bracha when you're separating a piece of that dough, and in the temple era, you would give that piece of dough to a Kohen. A Kohen did not inherit land like the rest of the tribes. A Kohen had limited economic abilities and opportunities. The Kohen received the gift from every Jew that was making a loaf of bread. Today, we do not have the ability to give it to the Kohen because the Kohen has to eat that bread while in a state of purity. We don't have that opportunity today, so we take that piece of bread and we wrap it in a tin foil and we burn it in the oven and then we discard it. The dough, before separating the piece of challah, for all intents and purposes, it is not kosher, right? You are not allowed to eat, to consume in any way, shape, or form the dough or any bread that you make from it without separating challah. What is the message? The message is that bread is fundamentally a basic staple of life, right? It's mundane, it's regular, it's ordinary, right? It is a simple type of food. But what are we commanded to do? We are commanded to bring holiness into the most physical, mundane, ordinary thing like eating bread. Not just by making a bracha on it, not just by making a blessing, but we actually transform the bread to the extent that what is the bread that we eat on Friday night? What do we call it? We call it challah. Now that doesn't make any sense. It should be called bread. The challah is the piece of dough that we burn. That's the challah. But no, we don't do that. We call the bread that we eat challah. Why? Because we have transformed something that is physical and material to something that is holy. In addition to the fact that we are injecting spirituality into the most material thing, which is food, we're also teaching us another lesson: the ability to delay gratification. You want to eat immediately. You want to cook. You want to make the food. You want to bake. You want to do everything. What does the Torah say? No. You have to be patient. There's a step that you have to take first. You have to separate that challah. You have to give it to a kohen. After that, once you make the separation, then you can benefit. So the mitzvah of challah teaches us the holiness of the soul and the importance of self-control. And that overflows into the house. When you literally rename the food that you're eating, instead of bread, you call it challah, that makes a powerful statement about the energy that's taking place in your house. When you have the ability to have this self-control, that makes, again, a major statement about the tone that you're setting for your house. Next, we have the mitzvah of family purity, right? The Torah says that a man and woman, our husband and wife, are not allowed to be intimate with each other from the start of her period until she goes to the mikvah. Like when she goes to the mikvah, then the husband and the wife are able to reunite again. One of the messages of this mikvah is that a person should place as primary the cravings and the desires of the soul above and over the cravings and the desires of the body. There is no word to translate this idea into English. But in Yiddish, a person who observes the mitzvah of family purity and going to the mikvah is edel. It's refined, right? It's sensitive. You're bringing a spirituality into something that is very physical, earthly, mundane, right? Every human being has a craving, has a lust, has a desire. It's very animalistic-like. But when you inject the concept, the idea of the mikvah, there's a holiness to it, there's a sensitivity to it. And holy children are born from that, right? Sensitive children are born like that. A house with the mikvah is a part of the life. There's something very special in it. It's not just about satisfying a craving, it's bringing a whole nother dimension into it. The Rebbe explains that this mitzvah, a sacred foundation of family life, is also impactful to the health of body, soul, and to the purity of Jewish children. As a result of this mitzvah, children are born, grow up in purity, and build their own Jewish homes for generations. So the mitzvah of family purity leads to holiness. It teaches us how to live with God and causes the future generations to do the same. And then finally, we have the mitzvah of lighting Shabbos candles, where you can argue it's the mitzvah of lighting Shabbos candles that has the biggest impact on the household and has the biggest impact on the children. Let's go to the Alter Rebbe, his Code of Jewish Law. He writes, all who are scrupulous about lighting Shabbos candles merit children who are scholars of Torah. As the verse states, for a mitzvah is a candle and the Torah is light. Through the mitzvah candle comes the light of Torah. Now, it's interesting that this concept that a mitzvah is a candle and the Torah is light applies to every single mitzvah. It applies to mezuzah, right? It applies to the shofar. It applies to everything. Why does the Alter Rebbe single out that all who are scrupulous about Shabbos candles? Very simple. Right? What is special about Shabbos candles? The light of the other mitzvahs is spiritual. Therefore, their impact on the physical world is indiscernible. Not so for mitzvahs that are performed with a physical light. The spiritual light is manifested openly in the physical world. So yes, all mitzvahs contain a spiritual message. All mitzvahs represent the light of Torah. but it's the Shabbos candles which we light, which actually have physical light, which actually glow. That when you look at them, it's beautiful, it's holy, it's calming, and that inspires the children to follow in that fashion. The kids see it, and they're attracted to that light. They want their lives to be about light and bringing Torah to the rest of the world. Now, when God created the world, the Torah says that the Garden of Eden was light. It was illuminated with the light of God. Godliness was concrete, it was tangible, you could see it with your own eyes. Then Adam and Eve committed the sin in the Garden of Eden, and the world was plunged into spiritual darkness, where you cannot tangibly see the light of God in this world today. What is our job? Our job is to light up the world and to reveal that the source of everything ultimately is Hashem. That's our job. It is the Shabbos candles is the mitzvah, which is a physical manifestation, a physical representation of our job and our task in this world, and it empowers us to take that light from the Shabbos candles out into the rest of the week and to illuminate the rest of the world as well. Now, what is the main spiritual darkness that we face? So the symbol of spiritual darkness and spiritual challenges in the Torah is idolatry. When we talk about idolatry, we don't only mean pagan idol worship like 2,000 years ago, but we mean when we worship the physical and the material, we create modern day idols in our life. The prophet Jeremiah, the prophet Yirmiyahu, he writes, "They say to wood, you are my father, and to stone, you bore us." Right? This was the idol worship of the biblical era, worshiping wood, worshiping stone. The Alter Rebbe comments that our sages instructed that we place a burning candle on Shabbos in every room that we enter. This ensures peace in the home so that we don't stumble on wood or stone. So on a physical, practical level, why do we light Shabbos candles? So you don't trip, so you don't fall, so you don't injure yourself. We're talking an era before electricity. The only way there was going to be light is if you light candles. What is the light going to do? You won't stumble on wood or stone. The Rebbe comments there's a much deeper meaning to wood and stone. The Rebbe says, why wood and stone in particular? It is a reference to the verse, "They say to the wood, you are my father, and to stone, you bore us." It is possible to turn the wood and stone into an idol, God forbid. The Shabbos candles keep us from stumbling into wood and stone. Wood and stone without the light of Shabbos candles can metaphorically, occasionally cause us to stumble and think that they have independent power to satisfy us, to the extent that we might have an idolatrous notion to call the wood our father and say to the stone, "You bore me." The light of the Holy Shabbos, a light of mitzvah, has direct bearing on the physical world. It ensures that we don't stumble on wood or stone. It shows that wood and stone, like everything in the world, are under God's dominion. God benefits us through them, but they have no autonomous power and must be used for holy purposes. So the light of Shabbos candles protect us from stumbling both physically and spiritually. Sometimes in life, we get distracted by the wood and the stone in our life, the physical, the material, the need to earn a living, right? The desire for the finer, the nicest things in life that distract us. They take us away from the things that are the most valuable in life. What do the Shabbos candles do? They light up our life, so we don't stumble on the wood and we don't stumble on the stone. This is exactly what Yitzchak saw when he saw that Rivka entered the tent of his mother and his 3 miracles returned. She was not just a kind woman. She was not just a refined and sensitive woman, but she embodied what it means to be a Jewish mother. Yitzchak waited for the 3 additional miracles to see what kind of home Rivka would establish. Once he saw the positive impact of the woman's 3 mitzvahs and the tangible effect she had on the home environment, he knew that she would be the perfect mother for the Jewish people. When he saw the atmosphere and the energy that she is going to create in her house, that in the house of Rivka, doing mitzvahs is a privilege and as a pleasure, he said, this is a woman who is going to be the mother. This is going to be not a woman who's not just going to be the mother of my children, but the mother of future generations. That's why the Torah says he was consoled from the loss of his mother. Not because Rivka could replace his mother, but he recognized that just as his mother was the ultimate Jewish mother that would guarantee a Jewish future, he knew that Rivka would be the ultimate Jewish mother that would also guarantee future generations of Jewish people. That is why he was consoled. He saw the cloud, he saw the candlelight, he saw the dough. She is just like my mother. We have a future. So today, of course, every Jewish woman has this mitzvah, this honor and this pleasure to bring light into the world. Shelley Willis, she wrote this fabulous article. She writes, do you understand the implication of the candles that you light each Friday night? Why was this lofty role placed in your care? It is because of the hidden light within your heart. You possess this special light that can light up your home. Within you is a treasure of love, self-sacrifice, loyalty, and dedication to Judaism. It permeates the souls of your children and goes into the hidden corners of their hearts. So with this powerful light, you do the job. You form the character of your children. And when you care for your children, when you feed them, when you put them to bed, you permeate their souls with the spirit of Judaism. You implant in their hearts the most noble character traits. So when they grow up, they will be loyal members of our nation. It is your job not only to light, but also to protect this light from all the threats, from all that threatens to darken it. You need your Shabbos candles to wage the battle as you establish a pillar of light around your home, to hold your children in your arms so they are always a part of the Jewish people. Through the Shabbos candles, the Jewish home is transformed into a fortress. Only such a fortress will make Judaism strong today, tomorrow, and forever. But the Rebbe would often comment that this mitzvah is not just for women, heads of households. It is for every Jewish girl. The world is a dark place, and we need as much light as we possibly can. Now, what do I mean that the world is a dark place? The Talmud says something very interesting about what the world is going to be like in the time and the era just before the coming of Mashiach. In the era before Mashiach, impudence will increase and inflation will spike. The government will turn to heresy, and no one will dare, that what's supposed to be the word dare, reprimand them. Public meeting places will become arenas of promiscuity. Those who fear sin will be held in disgust, and the truth will be absent. The youth will shame elders. Elders will rise in deference to minors. Do you recognize any of that? Does any of this, what you're reading in this text from the Talmud, 2,000 years old, almost perfectly describes the era, the time that we're living in right now? The Rebbe says all of the above makes it clear that in the modern day, when the world is caught in a thick and intense spiritual darkness, it is especially important that every Jewish daughter light Shabbos candles. This should begin as soon as they reach the age of education, when we can teach them the meaning of Shabbos and Yom Tov candles. So there were times when the Rebbe said beginning at the age of 3, but really it could start even before 3. That from the moment that the young girl recognizes what lighting Shabbos candles is all about, she should participate, she should be a part of it, and add her light to the world. It is especially important now, before the coming of Mashiach, to spread as much light as possible. The Rebbe continues, the light of the Shabbos candles, along with the blessing that each girl will recite, will illuminate her entire life. She will know and remember that God, as she will recite in her blessing, is the King of the world. This will ensure that when she marries, God will be there. God will be her guiding light. As the mainstay of her home, she will build and establish her home in accordance with God's will, on the foundation of Torah and mitzvahs. So through beginning to light candles in her youth, she will be empowered to build a Jewish home when she marries. This will become such a part of her identity, that wherever she goes, the Shabbos candles are going to go with her. The Rebbe continues, here we see the power vested in the mitzvah of candlelighting, even by a 3-year-old Jewish girl. Every Jewish daughter is a daughter of our matriarchs, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. As such, her candle also illuminates the house for an entire week until the next Friday. The only difference between her and the matriarchs is that their light was openly visible in the physical home. Their physical candles burned miraculously from Friday to Friday. The reality is that every Jewish woman kindles a spiritual light with her Shabbos candles. Though our physical eyes can't behold this light, our matriarchs' actions blaze the path for us, their descendants, and empower us to illuminate the entire week with our Shabbos candles. You don't believe me? Try it. When you have in your household a young girl, 3 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, lighting candles together with the mother, it's going to be a different house. It's going to be a different week due to the Shabbos candles that are lit in the house. And this is a power that is given specifically to Jewish women. When Sarah passed away, who lit the candles? Avraham. But the cloud did not appear. There was no blessing in the dough, and the candles were not lit for a week. It was only when Rivka returned that those miracles returned, because this is a mitzvah that is given to women. It's a unique ability that women have to create an atmosphere, to create the energy, to create the culture in a house. I want to conclude with a fascinating medrash about the power of lighting Shabbos candles. If you observe the candles of Shabbos, I will show you the candles of Zion. As it is written, and it will come to pass on that day that I will search Jerusalem with candles. I won't require of you to see by the light of the sun, for you will see by the light of my glory. As it is written, you shall no longer have the sun for light by day, and for brightness the moon shall not give you light, but God shall be to you for an everlasting light. The nations will walk to your light, as it is written, and nations will walk to your light. And all this, why? In the merit of the candles that you will light in honor of Shabbos. Right? Lighting Shabbos candles has the ability to usher in the Messianic era to transform the world. We need to add in light. We need every Jewish woman, every Jewish girl to light Shabbos candles. Actually, I want to include, it's a little bit long story, but I'm going to try to share it with you briefly. One of the most amazing letters that I've ever seen. This is a letter that was written to the Rebbe. A man writes that he is Catholic. His wife was born Jewish, converted to Catholicism. They never found their place in religious life. They couldn't find a church, a community that they could belong to. And they once ended up in a shul. And in that shul, I think it was Lincoln Square Synagogue, I think it was, in Manhattan, they met a Chabad woman named Branya Schaffer. And she talked to them, befriended them, gave her Shabbos candles. And she said, I don't want to have any Shabbos candles. I'm Christian. I believe in my religion. That's not for me. I'm not Jewish anymore. So Branya Schaffer said to her, did you ever learn about Judaism? Right? You're making a critically important decision to leave the Jewish people to join another religion. You have to make that decision with your eyes open, right? If you are blind to what it means to be a Jew, it's an inauthentic choice. It's not a real choice, because you don't even know what you're leaving. So she said to her, take these Shabbos candles, light the Shabbos candles every Friday night, right? See how you feel. See how you feel. Ultimately, this woman could not give up Christianity. She couldn't give it up, but she continued to light Shabbos candles every Friday night. At some point, this woman passed away, and the husband was preparing a Catholic funeral, a full, proper Catholic funeral for his wife. And then he sees on the shelf the Shabbos candles, the Shabbos candlestick that his wife used to light every week. And he says, I can't do it. I cannot do it. I cannot bury her as a Catholic. When she lit those Shabbos candles every week, there was something so authentic about it. She was Jewish, those candles, I cannot bury her as a Catholic. And he wrote a letter to the Rebbe, thanking the Rebbe for sending Branya Schaffer to them to be the emissary to give her the candles so that she could be an authentic Jew. Incredible story, right? Powerful stuff.